Hey, good afternoon to you. It is now 5:07 News Talk 105.9 WMAL, where we're making sense of the news. You can join us today, 888-630-9625, 888-630-WMAL. Democrats are already eating their own over the results of the election last week. One Congressman, Seth Moulton, came out and said, hey, everyone, maybe we should acknowledge that men shouldn't play in women's sports. I've got daughters. I don't want them to get hurt. Well, then members of his staff started quitting in public displays of anger. And Democrats are now freaking out over all of this, which it's great. It couldn't happen to a better party. Joining me now to discuss is the great David Strom. He's an associate editor at Hot Air, and he joins us now. Hello, David.
Hello. The world is healing. I mean, it is just glorious to watch. I mean, you see Donald Trump dropping bombs on the left, and then, you see everyone on the left turning on each other. They've got the circular firing squad going, and I am here for the show.
Do you think AOC is in for what Seth Moulton is experiencing? She just removed her pronouns from her X bio. She's probably up next here in the struggle session.
Well, the funny thing is that I think Moulton is actually doing this for purely mercenary reasons. I mean, he sponsored a lot of this alphabet BS just last year, but he's seen an opportunity coming from Donald Trump, who ran on this issue. I mean, it was one of the big campaign pushes was the they, them versus you. And, I think AOC is going to have to pick a side. And, the problem that they have is that the young staffers, the activists, and many in the donor class actually are leftist, insane people. And so, the Civil War is inevitable.
Yeah, it's definitely happening. It's amazing. Seth Moulton's a Massachusetts guy, and I see that the city of Salem is attacking him like crazy. That's fitting, isn't it? That he's undergoing a bit of a witch trial himself right now, and they're going after him, and they're accusing him now of being like a Nazi. Is that right?
Oh my gosh! I mean, look, this is one of the things about totalitarian ideologies is the smallest deviations are even worse than big deviations. They already hate us. We can't be any worse in their book. But when one of their own deviates even a little bit, the knives come out, because the only thing that they're all about unity, and that's what holds them together. And you can't have a rational discussion. This is a matter of faith.
I saw that the Ragin' Cajun James Carville was out this week saying that all of this identity politics garbage needs to be buried 50 feet underground and never thought of again. His view is that his party has strayed so far from the economic messages that it's going to end up in the wilderness for a very long time. You think that's honesty on his part?
I think it's right. It probably is also honest. I mean, those are two different things.
Mm-hmm.
Just as with Moulton, he's not being honest about his opinions, but he's right to go where he is. I think that what we're going to see with the Democratic Party is what in the UK Labour went through after the Thatcher years. And I know that dates me, but Labour was out of power for literally decades because they went so far left, and then they went lefter and lefter until they got to Tony Blair. They finally got the message by being out in the wilderness. And I think that is going to happen to the Democrats, but it hopefully won't be in 4 years or 8 years.
Yes.
I think 12 years from now, you're going to see a totally different Democratic Party.
One of the unfortunate realities, though, for what the Democrats have done is they've radicalized a lot of very young, impressionable people.
Yeah.
And that's not something you can just turn on a dime with. I mean, if you've gone as far as like changing your genitals in your allegiance to the Democrats, it's going to be a huge culture shock for you when you find out that they've decided to shift away from that topic.
Well, and you're absolutely right. I mean, one of the most frustrating things, and I'm sure you've experienced this frustration, is watching the momentum of some bad idea plow down all
Yes.
sorts of good things.
Yes.
And you're wondering, you're out there screaming, stop, this is a disaster. And it's 10 years later that the people who are doing this, after all this damage that they've caused, they finally say, well, maybe that was a mistake. I mean, we saw that with the pandemic stuff. I mean, people like you and me were screaming in the summer of 2020 that they're going insane, but we're still dealing with all the problems. I mean, lives were ruined. People died because of bad policies. And the same thing is happening right now with the Democratic Party.
Yes.
The momentum is there, and it's going to take a long time, even though they've been warned.
And that radicalism is really captured in many ways. It's the ruling class of that party, and it's hurt the people who vote for them, and so many others. But if you look at places like California, you do find some causes for optimism, even in a place like California. This election. First of all, you saw such massive turnout for Republicans, actually, in California, despite the direction the state ended up going ultimately. But also, they voted in an amendment that restored criminal penalties for actually doing things like stealing in the state of California. They ejected some of their radical prosecutors in California, of all places. So, there is some hope to be found out there.
Oh, I absolutely agree. And I think that one of the fascinating things, and I would not have predicted this 8 years ago, is that Donald Trump has, on the one hand, you could say he broke the old Republican coalition, but he's built a new one that I think is going to be durable. 2016, it looked like, Trump getting in was a fluke. 2024, this isn't a fluke. This is a realignment. And the Republican Party has become the anti-elitist working class party. And not by becoming what the Democrats were, but by, promising a rebirth of basically what happened in the 1980s, updated for the 2020s.
Promising what happened in the 1980s. What do you mean by that?
Oh, well, Ronald Reagan took a dejected America that looked weak, where the economy was horrible, and turned things around. And again, the world healed. And, so did the Democratic Party. I mean, under Bill Clinton, who was infuriating to people like me, still, he was looking back in light of where the Democrats are today, firmly rooted in common sense. And, the Democrats drifted away from that. And there are a lot of people who don't understand how destructive the Obama years were. I mean, Obama took, sort of Marxism and put it into a neatly pressed suit and, sold it with some poetry. But he really radicalized the federal government and led to where we are today.
So the left is, you mentioned that this is really about the people versus the elites, and we're kind of witnessing that yet again today as there's a ton of elite freak out about all of President Trump's picks for the cabinet, and they're upset about Tulsi Gabbard as director of national intelligence and Matt Gaetz as the head of the Justice Department, and now Robert F. Kennedy Jr. to lead up HHS, and Pete Hegseth to lead the Department of Defense. And I figured, just to give them a little credit, we should probably go over a list of the successes of the DOD and HHS and the intel community under their rules. So let's do that now.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. No, okay, we're done. Okay. So I mean, just the idea that this is going to somehow be, oh my goodness, can you imagine how awful things are going to become? Well, yeah, actually, I already know how awful things could be with bad leadership at those agencies.
Yeah, I mean, it really is striking how the measurements, the metric that the establishment uses is the credentials that you have, how far along up the elite ladder you clawed your way up. It has nothing to do with whether you make things better or worse. And, which is why there's such a freak out about Elon Musk. I mean, Elon Musk, is the Thomas Edison of the 21st century.
Yes.
But people are freaked out by him. They're freaked out by Tulsi Gabbard. And, these people do not have the right credentials. And that just drives them absolutely crazy. But for me, Tulsi Gabbard, I think, is going to be a gem for exactly the reasons why they hate her. She is going to reform our intelligence community. I hate that term, which has become weaponized against Americans. I mean, she was put on a watch list. She's a lieutenant colonel. And she was put on a watch list because she supported Donald Trump. She needs to go in and clean everything up.
Yeah, that's what's happened. I mean, this is an administration, especially, that's weaponized the federal government against its political opponents, and now those people are taking over, and they're all freaking out. The institutions are freaking out. You mentioned Elon Musk a moment ago, and you were talking about how he's not really of their world, but he should be. I mean, in fact, he really did come from their world. He's one of, if not the richest man on the planet. He was very tied in with the green energy movement. He has Tesla, the most successful electric car company on the planet. And yet, what he's done with his success is instead say the status quo needs to be broken. The establishment needs to be broken, because it is not serving people well. In fact, it's hurting them, and it's leading us to an existential disaster. So he's and the other thing that I don't think that people appreciate enough about Elon, he was radicalized by what the left did to his kid. He is a child who has identified as transgender, and it broke Elon of the spell. Elon said, "I'm losing my child. I'm losing my child to this." And it was at that moment, he's even described it in interviews, that he went all in on the fight for free speech and normalcy.
Yeah, I mean, he calls it the woke mind virus. And I think that really is a great description. I mean, or maybe, in honor of Robert Kennedy, the brainworm. But whatever you call it, there has been this madness going back to Salem. We've lived, over the past few years in a moral panic that has driven people insane, and it is destroying our civilization. And I think Musk is literally correct about that. People are not having children. They are talking about moving backwards rather than forwards on many things. They call it degrowth. And, everywhere you turn, you see this anti-life movement going on. And I'm not just talking about abortion. I'm talking about everything, antinatalism, suicide. And it's just scary and bizarre. There's no hope. It's very, very dark, even though they talk about joy. It really is an embrace of darkness.
It really is. That's exactly the word I was thinking of as you were describing it, dark. Thank you very much, as always, David Strom, for your wisdom. Always appreciate having you on the show. Good to talk to you today, sir.
Good to talk to you, Vince.
Line 2, Justin is calling in from Wilmington, North Carolina. Hello, Justin. You're on the Vince Coglianese Show.
Hey, Vince. I'm really loving everything that Trump, all the people he is appointing. To me, it seems like he's dropping in the elite special forces to free this country of the terrorists who have taken over and have been sabotaging us in every which way for too long. The Obama coalition is gone, and America is back to freedom. We're getting our country back.
Yeah, I think we are, and you've got to go big. This can't be small. This can't be incremental. It's got to be huge. We've gone too far in the wrong direction. We need big jumps right now back in the correct direction.
Yep, I love it. Every one of them has been perfect.
All right, cool.
I support them at all.
All right, cool. Thank you, Justin. Yeah, Justin, very happy with what he's seeing and hearing out of these guys. Ronnie's calling in from Pennsylvania on line 3. Hello, Ronnie. You're on the Vince Coglianese Show.
Hi, Vince. How are you?
I'm all right.
I heard a real interesting four-dimensional chess thing about Matt Gaetz today. See what you think about it.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Now, Rubio will be easily confirmed as Secretary of State. So that means that DeSantis gets to appoint his replacement.
Yes.
So the box that puts the Senate in is, A, you either approve Gaetz as Attorney General, or B, DeSantis selects Gaetz to replace Rubio, and they have to deal with him as a colleague in the Senate.
You know something? I think this would be fun. You know what has to happen is DeSantis has to come out publicly and say that is what's going to happen. So if you fail to confirm him as Attorney General of the United States, I will be appointing him the new senator from the state of Florida. That could induce some compliance. Ronnie, that's pretty funny.
You'll have to see them squirm on that one.
Yeah. Which do we want? We hate that guy, Gaetz. We don't want to spend a lot more time with him. All right, fine. Make him AG. Thank you, Ronnie. That's clever. It's funny. I did see, Laura Trump really wants that gig. She's been out there. She's now saying it publicly that she really hopes it happens. I believe she told Reagan Reese at the Daily Caller today that she hasn't yet heard from Ron DeSantis, but maybe she's waiting by the phone any moment now. We'll see. That's a big deal, that seat opening up. Ron DeSantis gets to select someone to take over in the state of Florida. And Rick Scott, the Florida Senator Rick Scott, he came out today and said he'd be for Laura Trump taking the gig. So we'll see. It's 5:29. Well, good afternoon to you. It's 5:35 here, newscast. The newscast. News Talk 105.9 WMAL, where we're making sense of the news. You can join us today, 888-630-9625, 888-630-WMAL. Oh, this is too good. Oh, I'm not supposed to enjoy all of this much. NBC News headline this hour, FDA employees consider how to handle RFK Jr., including leaving. Oh, no, not that. Please don't. Please stay. Oh, this is fantastic. Did you see those headlines yesterday, too, when President Trump announced that Matt Gaetz would be the Attorney General of the United States? Justice Department employees consider leaving. Oh, there may be an exodus of Justice Department employees if Matt Gaetz shows up. Oh no, anything but that. Anything but that. Oh, don't let the door hit you where the good Lord splits you. That's unbelievable. Unbelievable. Forget, you don't even need Elon Musk. You don't even need a Department of Government Efficiency. President Trump's picks are making the government more efficient by the second. People are quitting over RFK coming in? Well, fantastic. What does that tell you about who they are and what they thought the mission was at FDA? FDA employees consider how to handle RFK Jr., including leaving. Some staff members at the Food and Drug Administration are considering a quick exit as Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is being floated as, not floated, now he's the nominee, the potential health official in the incoming Trump administration, according to 3 former and 1 current government official who are granted anonymity to speak freely about sensitive issues. Oh, just the absolute best. This is great. Ivan is in Florida. He's calling in online too. Ivan, good afternoon. You are on the Vince Coglianese Show.
Vince, how you doing, my friend? Wanted to talk about the appointments. Vince, I call this Trumptopia. This was absolutely awesome. Yesterday, I was listening to the radio, and when I found out that he had appointed Matt Gaetz, it was just, especially after Tom Homan, Ratcliffe, Hegseth, and Musk and Ramaswamy, and then it got even better when head explosions happened all across Democrat and Rhino land. Vince, this is just absolutely awesome. This is what we've been waiting for. Trump hit it out of the park. This is something we only dreamed about. And this is what I call we are winning. Trump said we're going to get tired of winning. And you know what's going to be the dessert, Vince? Accountability for all the Democrat hijinks that they did. That's going to be the dessert. Trump has already won the Nobel Peace Prize before even taking office. He made a mistake when his biggest flaw in his first administration was the appointments, and he is not making that same mistake again. Vince, he ain't playing.
No, he's not.
Ain't playing.
No, he's not. And he's clear-eyed about all of this, and he's decided this time he's not going to play games at all, and it's not going to be incremental. It's not going to be little adjustments. He's going to go really big, really early, and he has to. He just got the mandate from the American people. He's going to use that capital that he just accrued, and it looks like he's spending it wisely and aggressively right out the gate.
Awesome, Vince, awesome.
All right, Ivan, thank you very much. Ivan's all pumped about it. Ivan's not tired of winning. I love that. Donnie is calling in from Alexandria on line 3. Donnie, good afternoon. You're on the Vince Coglianese Show.
Thank you very much. And I love Trumptopia and Trumptastic. It'd be great. I think, if the Congress won't shut down NPR, I think at least we could do, I don't know if we can get this guy to do it, but Vince Coglianese to run NPR. I think it would turn the country around.
National Panhandler Radio, in the words of our buddy Chris Plant. NPR. You think I should run NPR?
I maybe run into a wall, but I think they would use a lot. They'd benefit a lot from a redirection, and maybe you could start by just saying all federal employees are showing up Monday in the office 5 days a week, and that would thin the ranks as well.
Or just give telling the truth a try for every hour or so. Even NPR. The big thing about NPR is they lie about the source of their funding. It's just even when they talk about how they exist as an institution, they deceive you. They say, it's a very tiny percentage of our budget is actually federal funding. In fact, it's mostly just people just giving us money. They call it little old grandmas. They open up their wallets and they send us dollars. No, their money's from government. Their money's from government. It's a whole shell game that they're playing. They've got all these stations across the country who are taking money from taxpayers in their respective states, and then it all gets funneled up to the NPR news operation. I just put quotation marks way up in the air again, another Chris Plant thing. And then they tell you, they have the temerity to tell you, it's not funded by the taxpayers. Oh, it definitely is. It definitely is.
In fairness, they're only lying when they're talking.
They're only lying when they're talking. And they like to whisper when they lie. Donnie, thank you very much. They whisper into the microphone. All right, let's see here. I've got our buddy Sam is calling in from Alexandria on line 4. Sam, good afternoon, sir. You're on the Vince Coglianese Show.
Hey, good afternoon, Vince. Thanks so much for taking my call. Just slightly off topic, I was going to get to, and I will, the 51 former intelligence officials that signed off on the letter validating the Hunter
Biden laptop story. Yeah, Jeremy Bash going on television in the last 24 hours giving us all lectures about how the government needs to subvert Donald Trump and the voters. Meanwhile, he's one of the 51 who lied to us about Hunter Biden's laptop.
Yeah, to me, bottom line is if you are that bad, then on day one, your security clearance and accesses to federal facilities is yanked. You have no need for that. It's at the pleasure of the president. So bye-bye.
Yes.
The other thing I was thinking about in leading up to this and listening to some of your callers is that the exodus that everybody's talking about. First of all, these guys are like the actors. They do a lot of lip flapping, but they're making some good gravy here.
Yeah, I know. Area. You're right.
They're not going anywhere.
Yeah, they're not leaving. They're always like, I'm leaving for Costa Rica. If Trump's elected, I'm getting out of the country. Trump gets elected, I'm staying here. It's like Michael Cohen. Michael Cohen was on television a couple weeks ago saying, I'm packing my bags. I've got a fake passport. I'm going to have to say goodbye to my family. It's going to be awful if Trump gets elected. Trump gets elected. The next day, he's like, I'm not leaving. He's telling people on a live stream, and they're all making fun of him. I don't know what that was. That TikTok he was doing it on? I think it was like a TikTok thing. And they kept putting like filters over his face. I have no idea what app this is. It seems very stupid for him to do it, but they're putting like fake turkeys all over his face. He's like, hey, stop it. He's like screaming at his own viewers. It's hilarious, Sam, but he's exactly what you're describing. The guy he's all bark, no bite.
Yeah, he is. And so all these people that are doing it, I think some of them will. And I wrote my master's paper was on special operations assessment and selection, into the future, how to do it. And one of the things I wrote about is self-selecting. So these people are self-selecting themselves out of federal service because, quote unquote, Trump was elected, so I'm out of here. So that's a good thing. Hasta la vista, baby.
And just make their lives miserable, like Milton in The Office. Just move them to the basement and take their stapler and and then cut off, and then figure out a way to cut off their paycheck. Whatever it takes, just drive them absolutely crazy and right out of the federal government. And I know they're
You don't even have to do that. It's called showing up to work 5 days a week and doing your job. And they have gotten so far away from that, a number of them, that that will drive them out. They'll put in early retirement. I'm waiting for that shoe to drop for the option for early out, because a lot of people are talking about that.
Well, big changes are coming, at least. All right, Sam, thank you very much.
Thank you, brother.
That's Sam. Sam's right. Security clearances. Yank security clearances from all these goons who just spend all their time attacking America and then lying to you. If you're a liar, you shouldn't have a security clearance. That's the whole point of having a security clearance is you've demonstrated the integrity to have a security clearance. If you're out in public lying all the time, well then no, not for you. Jim is calling in from Charlestown, West Virginia, line 6. Hello, Jim. You're on the Vince Coglianese show. Thank you for calling.
Hello, Vince. I love the show.
Thank you, sir.
To go with the topics you covered today with identity politics and on, as we move from a damn it.
You're good.
What identity politics has moved from identity politics to a right-leaning meritocracy. There's something that you can measure and that you can see, and I expect everyone to pay attention. Watch these signature blocks as this stupid pronoun line disappears. We can measure it. We can see it.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
How can you measure it? Tell me, Jim.
Well, just watch. Watch the people that you deal with. Look on LinkedIn. Look on other social media. These line and the signature block will disappear.
You're getting to something. So this is the reason I asked for more clarity on that, is because there is a way to literally quantitatively measure this. And if somebody can figure out a way to basically crawl LinkedIn profiles, capture them, use the Wayback Machine. There's Internet Archives. You can look at old things that have been changed since then and then compare them to the present day or maybe a month or two from now. You could actually have some sort of piece of information. You can have an article on this subject. There's a 33% decline on profiles on LinkedIn that include pronouns. In fact, you could even ask the company if they'd be willing to tell you what the answer to that is. But I bet you're right. I bet you, with any luck, that's a sign that we're reverting back to normal, Jim.
Yeah, and, regrettably, many federal agencies actually required that you do that in your email signature block. So it'll be interesting to see the new executive orders concerning this as well.
Can I just offer a suggestion? If you exist inside of a company that is not insane, and you receive an email that has pronouns on the bottom of it, just send back, why are there pronouns in your signature line? That just ask, just as a not trying to be confrontational, but why are there pronouns in your signature line, and see what happens. It's a fun experiment. Jim.
Cool. Thank you. It would be fun.
Thank you very much, Jim from beautiful Charlestown, West Virginia. Is this right? We have a caller all the way from Hungary right now. Steve is calling in from Hungary. Viktor Orban land out there, line 5. Hello, Steve. Good to hear from you. You're on the Vince Coglianese show.
Viktor Orban land. Jó napot kívánok, Vince. Yes. So 2 points and then an extra one, if I may.
Yes.
So first of all, is that the Hungarians are very much looking at Trump's reelection as a peace dividend. Hungary borders Ukraine. There's been an extreme disruption in Europe, and they're looking to be able to put more money into their economy, to grow their families. Hungary is a very pro-family country, and they want to be able to do that. So that's thing one. Thing two.
So let me dwell on that, Steve, just for a moment. I want to dwell on it to make sure I understand what you said. You say that the people of Hungary are excited by Trump's election because what it means for them and regional stability. So as here in the United States, the establishment thinks that it's awful that Trump got elected because they want to see the Ukraine war stretch on into infinity. And you're saying that, no, in Hungary, they'd like the Ukraine war to come to a conclusion because it's better for people in Hungary.
Absolutely.
Okay.
That's what it is. Now it's not one. It's of course I know, just like in the U.S., it's not 100%, but the vast majority of people, and I watch the news here. I read and I understand Hungarian, so I see what's going on, and they are very much in favor of this being an opening to getting the stability of Europe back. They don't want the war on their doorstep.
Yep.
They don't want it. I mean, and especially when Biden back a couple of years ago was asked, well, how long are you going to support Ukraine? Well, as long as it takes. Well, what is it as long as it takes mean? I mean,
yes.
You can't have an infinite support of it. So that's thing one. Okay, so thing two. So people shouldn't be surprised at what Donald Trump did from 9 years ago. Trump is a disruptor.
Yep.
That's what he is. He does not live or participate in the swamp. And is everything going to work out perfectly? No, it's not. But everybody who's in the uniparty, shocked. I say shocked that there's gambling going on at Rick's. Well, shocked that Trump did something disruptive. Well, okay. Well, it's time to to turn the tables over and to do things. And the third thing is, which I didn't tell Corey when I called in, was if you remember back in 2016 when Trump was elected, Cher said she was going to leave the country. You know where she was going to go? She was going to go to Jupiter. Okay, so now we have Elon Musk. He's going to Mars. Well, one step away.
There you go. Hey, thank you, Steve, for the call, and I appreciate it all the way from Hungary, all the way around the planet, calling us today on WMAL. Thank you, Steve. And Steve's right. We did send Trump because they failed. That's why we sent him. You know that guy Leonard? Some people call him Charlemagne the God. He's confused why Joe Biden and Donald Trump were all smiles together yesterday at the White House. Here he is processing his emotions.
I just don't understand the White House visit. Now, granted, I'm glad it's a peaceful transition of power, but what happened to the threat of democracy talk? What happened to the fascist talk? By the way, I know I've said those things about Trump as well, but I'm not talking about me. I'm talking about his political opponents like President Biden. When they say it, it holds way more weight than me. I'm just trying to figure out, how do you go from he's an existential threat to democracy to welcome back?
He was happy, too. He was happy. He was smiling. He was grinning. He was cheesing. Say cheese. He was cheesing, bro.
I'm just trying to figure out how. I understand President Biden believes in political norms, but damn.
So close, yet so far. They don't believe it is the answer. They don't believe it. And he's not alone. There are lefties all over the place who have been saying, "Why? I thought he was a threat to democracy. What's going on?" There's a lefty who shares video clips. You ever see him on X? His name's Aaron RuPaul, and he's constantly sharing all these clips that he thinks own conservatives. Oh, we owned them, and meanwhile they make conservatives and Donald Trump. Everybody look great. He has no idea. He's low IQ, and in that way we have some sympathy, but in another way it's hilarious. And even he was like, "Why is Biden smiling? I thought Trump was a threat to democracy." They don't understand. These are the people who are being led around by the nose by a party who doesn't care about them. They just lie to them. They just like, Trump's a threat to democracy. They don't even believe it. He's a threat to bureaucracy. He's a threat to their permanent Democrat power. That's what he's a threat to. And when I say he's a threat, what I mean is democracy's a threat to them. That's why they project. Hey, guess what's happening? The great one, Mark Levin, up next here on WMAL.